Hi, welcome to While Away with Us. I'm Eric.
And I'm Wendy Verdew. We spent a year traveling Europe, and we've gotten so many questions about our trip that we thought we would do a series of videos answering those questions.
We hope you like it. If you do, please click on like, feel free to subscribe, and leave a comment below if we didn't answer your question.
Gosh, can you believe it's almost been a year?
It's been a year since we've been back. Yes.
It's amazing.
We left on, was it March 1st?
Yes.
2019. Flew out of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and we were gone for almost exactly 365 days. We flew back on February 20, was that a leap year? Last year? 28th? We flew back February 28th.
29th.
So was it a leap year?
I think it was.
And arrived back at Myrtle Beach International Airport just in time for the pandemic to hit the United States.
Yep. So Eric likes to prepare. That's not true. I like to prepare too.
I was going to say, you do more of the preparing, actually.
I do
I'm more
preparing.
spontaneous and more of an idea generator.
But he wanted to practice these questions up front, know what they were. And I said,
yes.
let's just do it unscripted. And we're just going to, these are questions common questions that we've received from different people since we've gotten back. And, we answer them on the fly then. So there's no point in us trying to think up the right answer. We're just going to both give an answer to each question. May be the same and it may not be. Well, let's get on to the questions. Why did you decide to travel for a year? That's a great question. Do you remember?
Yes, and again, that was one of those questions before we ever started out. We knew we were going to be gone for a year, and the very first thing that people were asking is, well, why? Why not just take 2 weeks and come on back? And Wendy and I have a love of traveling together. And we had traveled 2 weeks before and different vacations to different places. And I think it was actually Wendy who first came up with the idea, if it's possible, would you be willing to travel for a year? And I'd never thought of it. And it was like, well, yes, if it's possible. And by all means. So why? To put it down, I mean, if it's possible, yes. But why would you want to? We wanted to get to know the countries, not as vacationers, but as people soaked up, or as people soaking up the culture of the places we were going to go visit. We didn't want to just go in there and stay at a hotel. We wanted to be able to live amongst the people there.
For me, I thought a little bit as I prepared to retire. I retired in 2016, and as I prepared to retire, I thought a lot about living abroad, living in other countries. Eric and I actually did some research to see, if that was something we'd be interested in. So with that in mind, was still kind of back there. Well, we went on a great trip at the end of 2018, I guess. And it was a wonderful trip. And even in that trip, we talked about what would it be like to live here in Old Town Prague.
We went to Prague for a week.
And, we came home and we continued that conversation. Wow, wasn't that just an incredible trip? And what would it be like? And so it's kind of, for me, a melding of the two, a way to experience these places, have a mixed bag of these different locations that we, were interested in traveling to and possibly living in. So, it was just a big, grand adventure. Where did we go?
We spent 3 months in 4 different countries. We started off in Spain. We left in March 1st, 2019, and we spent March, April, May in Spain. Then we went to England, spent the summer there, and the fall in Italy. And we actually didn't know where our 4th country was going to be. We had originally back in 2019, had planned to go to
Croatia.
Croatia.
Bought our Rick Steves book.
Yeah, I mean, we had that planned up until we got to Italy. And then, truth be said, we just heard Croatia in the wintertime closes up its doors and it's cold. And I had had enough of the cold in England. I hate to speak bad of England, but it's cold there.
Not all the time, but it's definitely cooler than...
So from Italy, which, if you're familiar, Croatia is right across the Adriatic from Italy, but it was going to be cold, we immediately started looking south. And we thought about Morocco, and actually it became a toss-up between Morocco and Cyprus. And we'll talk about a little bit later why not stay in Italy? Why not go back to Spain? We'll talk about that a little bit later. But we ultimately decided on Cyprus because the distance for transportation was shorter and it meant less expense for stayovers. Yeah. So it was Spain, England, Italy, and Cyprus.
Yep. A lot of people have asked us, why not travel the United States? And it's a great question. I think I've been to about 17 states, 17 to 20. And it is a great question. There are a lot of places I would like to go in the United States or go back to. But, I think for me, especially after just coming off of that really nice 2-week trip to Europe.
Prague,
Switzerland, Germany. The culture is so different than ours. And I don't know. I can't really say for me why, other than it's just more of the unknown, I guess, in the United States, and a little more out of your comfort zone, the languages and the different barriers you have. It's a little more exotic, maybe, but that's where we wanted to go. Not to say we didn't want to visit the United States, but for this particular trip, we wanted to go to Europe.
As a practical matter, Europe, just being a bunch of small countries crowded together. When you think of the United States, you put the United States over top of Europe and you still have room left over. You can get from one area to another in Europe a whole lot less expensive than you can in the United States. Their infrastructure for transportation is wonderful, so we were able to flit about from place to place. And of course, the United States is huge. And it's just, we don't have quite that transportation
And that's a shame.
Yeah. And so to go to all the places that we would want to in the United States would require a whole nother plan.
So this is a great question, and Eric alluded to this earlier. Why did you pick the countries that you visited? Well, our first country that we solidified was Spain. We had originally planned to go to Spain in 2016. We ended up going to Italy. And so we missed that we didn't get to go there. And the biggest part is Eric's grandparents came from Spain. So Spain was an absolute must, followed by Italy, which we fell in love with in the 2016 trip and knew we wanted to go back and spend more time there. So those two were easy. Now, to be honest, we really would have liked to go to Portugal and
maybe France or Switzerland again.
Or Prague.
Yeah.
The Czech Republic. But we weren't allowed. And I'll let Eric speak to that.
We learned about something called Schengen. I know this is going to be, for those of you who are travelers, you're going to be, of course, everyone knows that, but for Wendy and I, it was a new learning experience. What is Schengen? There's about 22, I can't remember the exact number, of countries in Europe that are all part of what's called the Schengen Union. And they have this agreement that anybody who's not part of European community who enters any of those countries, you're only allowed 90 days maximum in all of those countries at any or a combination of time, right? Over a period of time.
90 days within 180.
Yeah. So
it can be all together or separate, but in a 180-day period, you can only stay.
Yeah. So you could do 3 months in Spain or a month in Spain, a month in France, and a month in Italy. But regardless, at the end of those 90 days, you have to leave the Union, which means you have to go to a country that's not part of the Schengen Union, which when you look that up on Google, it's not a whole lot of countries. And
Let's see how many we can name.
And the ones that
Croatia, Cyprus,
Morocco,
Turkey,
England,
Ireland,
Ireland, Romania, and Syria, Pakistan. I mean, it's a bunch of countries that you're like going, well, Albania. And I'm not speaking anything poorly about those countries. And in fact, we may go see some of those countries in the future. But we know nothing about them at this time. And again, you're getting further from the main area of Europe and the transportation costs. So we could only spend 3 months in the Schengen Union. So that's why we decided we'll spend 3 months in one country, Spain, which is in it. Then we had to leave. So we decided we've always wanted to see England. Knowing a little bit about the weather, we knew we didn't want to see it in the winter. So since we were going to go in spring, Spain in spring, England in the summertime, which then left us, okay, we could go back, because once you're gone for 90 days, you can go back to the Schengen. So after 3 months in England, we went back to the Schengen Union. That was Italy. But then we had to leave again after 3 months, and that's why we chose Cyprus.
Again, it was initially Croatia, but, kind of putting things in a hat, because we took the countries that were out of Schengen and did some research on them, and it was kind of like, okay, besides Ireland and England, which of these countries sound like the best places to go? And it was winter, and so that's how we ended up with Cyprus.
Yeah, some nice warm weather. And Cyprus really was ideal for winter travel.
Yeah, it was.
Well, thanks for stopping by and giving a listen. And we look forward to getting out our next video.